All right, so I'm just a stupid dog. And the man was kind of pissing me off because I noticed one thing is peculiar about the man. He always leaves his freaking discarded Band-Aids. I'm like, what are you doing? The man's like, I'm a klutz. So I get a lot of injuries. I scrape myself or I literally slice myself numerously. Numerously. He has abrasions that he thinks he has to clean. One time he fell face first in the refrigerator. He was half shit-faced. He tripped on something. He got all pissed off. He's like, dog, you can't leave this shit over here. I was like, that's a roller skate. What do you think I'm doing with a roller skate? I didn't leave that there. He was like, dog. I was like, oh my God, he had a big abrasion. It looked like somebody took a tennis racket and swiped it across his forehead. And, it bled. It bled a little bit. Every time the man was trying to do this, that, or that thing. One time he's like, the dog, let me show you. We could connect 2 cans by a piece of string. 2 cans. I was like, 2 cans? What? 2 cans? He's like, yeah, 2 cans by a piece of string. It's like a phone. I was like, when Alexander Graham Bell was inventing the phone, maybe it would have been pretty cool if you could have shown how he did that in 2 cans strung together by a piece of string, and you could talk and you could hear each other. Since then, they've invented walkie-talkies. After they invented walkie-talkies, the whole walkie-talkie industry collapsed when they invented cell phones. No one needs a walkie-talkie if everyone's got a cell phone. The man was like, oh, well, whatever. But he was trying to cut the top of a tin can so he could string it up to the other tin can and they could maybe, breach or, span the expanse of not being able to hear each other. Plus, I don't think the string was ever far enough where you could just slightly raise your voice going, hey, the man, can you hear me? Yeah, the dog, why? Why we got a can and a string? I don't know. It's just like it's an experiment. So anyways, he was cutting the top of this tin can with a razor knife and he sliced it slipped off the tin can and it sliced his finger to the bone. It was disgusting. He bled out like a stuck pig. He had a gash that looked like some, whatever. Somebody from some kind of a cartel came up and chopped him with a machete. It was disgusting. Anyways. He won't go get a stitch. A stupid dog. I'm like, the man, why don't you go get a stitch? Go to the emergency room. The man's like, it's cost too much money. I said, go to the aftercare clinic. They have the aftercare clinic now. He's like, no, it costs too much money. Who knows who's going to be there for this, that, other thing. He pinches it together and he wraps it up with duct tape. The only thing is it could fester. And plus, he gets his hands dirty. He gets his hands wet. Wetness is the worst thing. They prune. Underneath the duct tape, it prunes. You're like, oh my God, the wound looks like it's healed, but it's just pruned. A pruned wound has not necessarily healed. I'm a stupid dog, but I know this much. A pruned wound has not necessarily healed. And they pop open and then the man's bleeding all over everything. It's disgusting. He's bleeding all over drops of blood. You're like, hey, the man, I was trying to take a nap, and all of a sudden I looked down, there was a bunch of red splotches everywhere. Did you bleed out? The man's like, no, I promise you, dog, I did not. I didn't bleed out. I'm like, the man, did you bleed out? He's like, no, I didn't. I promise you, I did not bleed out. Like, the man, did you bleed out? I was like, shit. I bled out. I couldn't pinch it together. I pinched it together, it kind of healed. Then it had a re-wound. It rewounded itself. It popped open. I heard it pop. I felt it pop. I started spewing blood everywhere. It was disgusting. A stupid dog. I'm like, the man. And the man's like, the dog. He's like, the man, the dog. It's a Mexican standoff. Anyways, the man is always losing his Band-Aids because once he figured out that you don't have to get stitches, you could just keep on treating it with Neosporin, triple antibiotic, and wrap it up with a Band-Aid. But you gotta change the dressing. The Band-Aid is the dressing. You got to change the dressing every time it gets wet. It's like 2 or 3 times a day. He's leaving Band-Aids all over the place. It's disgusting. The man is leaving. The man was trying to open up some cheese. He got some free generic sharp cheddar cheese. The man was so happy he got his free, generic, sharp cheddar cheese. He's like, is this government cheese from back in the old days? They're like, no, it's just free cheese. The man's like, how do we get free cheese? They're like, don't ask no questions that you don't want the answer to. It's not government free cheese, but you don't want to know where this free cheese came from. The man's like, I'm okay with that. I just want my free cheese. He took a block of free cheese. It was like, vacuum sealed with some kind of thick plastic. He tried to chop it open with a paring knife. The paring knife slipped off the thick plastic and he sliced his index finger to the bone. He started bleeding like a stuck pig. I was like, oh my God, how many times are you going to slice your finger? Why do I have to wash this shit? As a dog, I was like, I might want to lick some of that damn blood that's spewing all over the place, you idiot. Don't make me lick your blood and maybe I'll bite you right in your femoral artery. And whatever, it doesn't matter. I was like, man, you cannot keep wounding yourself. And plus, once he gets a wound, he don't go to the emergency room. He won't go to the emergency room. He won't go and get a stitch. You get 2 stitches, you get 2 staples, and it heals in 3 or 4 days. No, he wants to tape it up with electrician's tape, with, duct tape, with Gorilla tape. He wants to spray some of that stuff you see on TV where the guy's floating around on a boat. Flex Seal or whatever it's called. He wants to get some Flex Seal, You're like, the man, don't just get it stitched because every time you go down, bend down to tie your shoes, the wound pops open and starts bleeding. It's disgusting. Every time you try to fix something, you try to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I'm like, hey, man, what are you making, a peanut butter and blood sandwich? Because your wound's popped open again. It's like, holy shit. The worst part isn't that he drops blood everywhere, because that would be bad enough, but he's dropping sleazy, disgusting Band-Aids everywhere. All right? This man is losing his Band-Aids. He's got Band-Aids in the hot tub. He's got Band-Aids in the spa. He's got Band-Aids over there at the pool. You're swimming in the pool, all of a sudden you get slapped in the lip with a Band-Aid. You're like, the man, where'd you come? You got to stop shedding Band-Aid. He sheds Band-Aids like a ginkgo tree sheds yellow leaves in the fall. It's disgusting. This guy's an idiot. Why are you shedding? I cannot stand finding all your disgusting, grody, discarded, used Band-Aids that you shed. He's like, they're wet. I got to pull them off when they're wet. Plus, they come off half the time by themselves. The worst thing was, we were sitting around. I'm a young stupid dog, so I was laying off to the side, trying to stay out of the way of the humans. And all of a sudden, somebody started barfing. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that barf smells pretty good. It's kind of sweet barf. I might lick that barf up, I said to myself. I'm a young stupid dog. I might eat that barf. Because it wasn't like grody barf. It wasn't acidic barf. It wasn't skanky barf. This guy was eating lamb chops. And he was eating just like greens. He was eating heather. So this guy was, what made him barf? The man, he was sitting around with a bunch of muckety mucks from his old days, a bunch of high-brow ne'er-do-wells, and all of a sudden somebody looks down and is like, holy fuck, what the hell? It turned out there's a big wide Band-Aid in the peanut bowl. There was a big wide Band-Aid in the peanut bowl. And the guy started barfing. I was like, man, you ruined your soiree. You left one of your Band-Aids. You didn't realize one of your Band-Aids fell off you in your peanut bowl. No one who's munching and crunching, eating some peanuts. I think these peanuts were like chili peanuts with a honey glaze. It was uproarious. They were the best peanuts anyone ever saw. But you're eating the peanuts and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, is that a Band-Aid? Is that a Band-Aid in the peanut bowl? The man's like, oh my God, he's trying to come up with some excuse. No one knew what was going on. But anyways, the man said, the other thing was, one time the man left a Band-Aid in the jelly bean bowl. You know what? Ronald Reagan used to like to have a lot of jelly beans, that everybody could enjoy a jelly bean. And he liked the black ones and the pink ones, the best, Ronald Reagan said. Everybody was sitting around, a bunch of rich people. They were drinking bourbon, and the man, he gently reached out and he drew a yellow, a butterscotch. I think it was popcorn. It was either butterscotch or popcorn jelly bean. He slowly munched and crunched the jelly bean as he sipped his bourbon. Everybody thought he was the coolest thing until all of a sudden he was like, Holy fuck, this big, lanky, rich guy looked like he could buy a crane. He says, there's a fucking scuzzy Band-Aid in the jelly bean bowl. You can't leave a oh my God. And the man, his whole soiree was destroyed at that point because they were like, everybody's like, no, you cannot leave. You know, everybody's going to get grossed out if you have a, it doesn't matter who you are or how highbrow you are. If you leave a disgusting, wretched Band-Aid in the jelly bean bowl, no one is going to want to hang out with you. Amiak, stupid dog. This is just a take that was like the man, you know, he cuts himself a lot by mistake. It's a thing. I mean, some people are klutzy. He's not, he's knivesy. He slices his fingers up a lot of times, trying to open up a can of tuna fish, trying to, you know, cut the top of a can to make a thing where he could demonstrate how Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, or he thinks it's kind of cute to string two tin cans among two, whatever, Victorian houses by a string. I don't know. Or he was trying to cut some yarn so he could string up some kind of a bird feeder. The man's always slicing himself open. Thank God he very, very rarely slices his tendons. The man's always bleeding like a stuck pig. He doesn't believe in stitches or staples. He wraps them up with electrician's tape, with duck's tape, with Flex Seal, but a lot of times uses generic Band-Aids. Every time the man goes swimming, you're liable to find a Band-Aid floating on the water top. It's disgusting. No one knows what's going on. I'm a young stupid dog, and I'm just trying to figure it out for myself. You know, I'm just saying this. Do not worry about it. Que sera, sera. But it's kind of weird. I mean, I was going to say, don't worry about it as my final thing, but I mean, my final thing is, it's kind of grody.